Question 5. What is the best practice in SQL for separating logic that cleans up data from logic that transforms data? Let's go over all the options in this question. It says option A, using common table expressions. Option B, using the ref function to build models on top of other models. Option C, keeping all logic in a single query. And option D, using the DBT tool to separate logic out into separate models. This question is trying to test your understanding of best practices in SQL when trying to organize your code. So it's just trying to understand how good are you at organizing your code in modular bits. So let's evaluate each option. Option A, using common table expressions. CTs generally can make your queries more readable and modular by breaking them into smaller and more manageable pieces. However, they don't inherently separate cleaning and transformation logic. That's not the core thing they are for, but they could be used for that. So it feels like it could be the answer, but let's go over the options and see if there's a better answer. Option B, using the ref function to build models on top of other models. This option refers to a DBT specific function. It's not an SQL best practice. So the ref function isn't an SQL function. It's more of a DBT function. So while this can be a good practice within the DBT project, it's generally not an SQL best practice. So I don't think B is the answer in this case. Let's move to the other next option, which is option C, keeping all logic in a single query. Regardless of if it is DBT or not, keeping all your logic in a single query is not a best practice. So because combining all logic in a single query can lead to complex, hard to read, and difficult to maintain code. So you want to avoid doing that regardless of where you're working. Option D, using the DBT tool to separate logic out into separate models. This option also is not an SQL best practice, more like a DBT best practice. So in DBT, we want to separate the logic for cleaning and transforming our data into separate models. However, this question is asking about SQL best practices and not DBT best practices. So based on all these options, we're going to stick with our first answer, which is option A. And let's see, option A. Yeah, so as a best practice in SQL, you should separate logic that cleans up your data from logic that transforms your data.